China, once hailed as an unstoppable economic powerhouse, now stands at the precipice of a catastrophic collapse. The cracks in the facade of its economic might are widening, revealing a landscape fraught with peril and instability. The post-pandemic recovery that the Chinese government eagerly anticipated has proven to be nothing more than a mirage, offering a brief and fleeting glimpse of hope before plunging into deeper turmoil.
China's GDP grew by more than 9% per year from 1980 to 2019, and during that time, more than 800 million people were lifted out of extreme poverty. But the good times may be coming to an end. The capital that funded China's growth is drying up. The energy that powered its manufacturing is getting more expensive. And the unfettered growth of its real estate market has hit a brick wall.
With official growth figures masking a grim reality and confidence both at home and abroad dwindling, China's economy is on the verge of a historic breakdown. The significance of this crisis cannot be overstated. China's economic health has long been intertwined with global markets, and its downfall could trigger a ripple effect felt across the world. From manufacturing hubs to financial markets, the repercussions of a collapsing Chinese economy would be profound and far-reaching. It is essential to understand the illusion of growth that has shielded China from scrutiny. The country's official growth rate of 5.2% in 2023, though seemingly respectable, is a shadow of its former self. Analysts suggest that the true growth rate might be a mere 1 to 2%, a stark contrast to the government's optimistic proclamations. This discrepancy between reported and actual growth is just the tip of the iceberg, hinting at deeper structural issues that threaten to unravel the very fabric of China's economy. The collapse in confidence is palpable. The Shanghai lockdown and stringent zero-COVID policies shattered the fragile trust of consumers and producers, plunging confidence to record lows. Although the end of these policies brought a brief respite, it was not enough to restore faith in China's economic trajectory. Business indices, though showing modest recovery, remain far from their historic highs, painting a grim picture of an economy struggling to regain its footing. Leadership failures have further exacerbated the crisis. Criticisms of President Xi Jinping's economic policies have grown louder, with many questioning why more has not been done to bolster the economy and restore confidence. Speculations abound that Xi is either unaware of the severity of the situation or is deliberately choosing to ignore it. The four no's, he doesn't know, he doesn't care, he doesn't dare, he cannot act, encapsulate the widespread disillusionment with the leadership's response. Debt and the real estate crisis loom large over China's economic landscape. The country's overall debt has ballooned, raising fears of a financial meltdown. The real estate sector, once a pillar of stability, is now a ticking time bomb, with major developers like Evergrande and Country Garden teetering on the brink of collapse. Household debt has surged, exposing millions of families to the volatility of the housing market and threatening to destabilize the broader economy. For years, China has been touted as the miracle economy, its double-digit growth rates and rapid urbanization serving as a model for developing nations worldwide. However, beneath the surface of these impressive figures lies a different story, one of manipulated statistics, overestimated projections, and a desperate attempt to maintain a veneer of economic strength. China's official growth rate of 5.2% in 2023 might seem commendable, but it masks a troubling reality. Independent analysts estimate that the actual growth rate could be as low as 1 to 2%, highlighting a significant discrepancy between reported and real figures. This disparity suggests that China's economic health is not as robust as the government would have the world believe. The manipulation of data to maintain an image of prosperity is a tactic that has backfired, leading to mistrust and skepticism both domestically and internationally. The reliance on such inflated figures has not only eroded credibility, but also masked underlying problems that have been festering for years. The illusion of growth has created a false sense of security, preventing necessary reforms and masking the urgent need for structural changes in the economy. The global pandemic severely impacted economies worldwide, but China's response was particularly stringent, with lockdowns and zero-COVID policies that crippled economic activity. When these policies were finally lifted in late 2022, there was a brief surge of optimism. However, this recovery was short-lived, revealing deep-seated vulnerabilities within the economy. Consumer confidence, a critical indicator of economic health, has been on a downward spiral. The spring of 2022 saw a sharp decline in confidence following the Shanghai lockdown, and although there was a slight improvement with the end of zero-COVID policies, it was far from significant. The confidence levels have remained in record-low territory, reflecting widespread uncertainty and pessimism about the future. This lack of confidence translates into weak consumer demand, which in turn hampers economic growth. With consumers reluctant to spend, businesses struggle to generate revenue, creating a vicious cycle that further exacerbates economic woes. The government's attempts to boost consumer confidence have been largely ineffective, failing to address the root causes of the problem. Investment remains restrained, with businesses hesitant to commit resources in an uncertain environment. The lack of investment stifles innovation and growth, compounding the challenges faced by the economy. Despite government assurances and policy measures aimed at stimulating business activity, the underlying issues continue to impede recovery. The illusion of growth has also led to policy missteps, with the government focusing on short-term measures to maintain appearances rather than long-term reforms to address structural weaknesses. This has created a precarious situation where the economy is teetering on the brink of collapse, unable to sustain itself without significant intervention. The real estate sector, once a reliable engine of growth, has become a liability. With property prices stagnating or falling and major developers facing financial difficulties, the sector's downturn has eroded household wealth and confidence. Many Chinese families have significant portions of their wealth tied up in real estate, and the sector's instability has left them feeling financially vulnerable. The economic uncertainty has prompted many affluent Chinese citizens to seek ways to move their wealth abroad. This capital flight is driven by fears of further economic decline and potential government crackdowns on private wealth. The trend of moving assets overseas has not only drained domestic resources, but also highlighted the lack of confidence in the country's economic future. Wealthy individuals and businesses are increasingly looking to invest in foreign real estate, stocks, and other assets as a hedge against domestic risks. This capital flight poses a significant threat to China's financial stability as it reduces the funds available for domestic investment and growth. The government's response to the economic challenges has been perceived as inadequate and inconsistent. Criticisms of President Xi Jinping's economic policies have grown louder, with many questioning the effectiveness of the measures taken to restore confidence and stimulate growth. The lack of transparency and clear communication has further eroded trust in the government's ability to manage the crisis. Public perception of the government's handling of the economy is increasingly negative. Many citizens feel that their concerns are not being addressed, and that the leadership is more focused on maintaining control than on implementing meaningful reforms. This disillusionment has led to growing discontent and a sense of uncertainty about the future. At the heart of China's economic crisis lies a failure of leadership. The centralization of power under President Xi Jinping has created a system where decisions are made by a small, insular group, often disconnected from the realities on the ground. Since coming to power, Xi Jinping has consolidated his control over the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, and the state apparatus. The abolition of presidential term limits in 2018 signaled Xi's intent to maintain power indefinitely, further centralizing authority and reducing the checks and balances within the government. This concentration of power has led to a governance style heavily reliant on Xi's personal vision and decisions, often sidelining expert advice and broader consultation. The official media's portrayal of Xi as an infallible leader has only intensified this dynamic. State-controlled narratives emphasize his achievements and downplay any failures, creating a disconnect between the leadership's perception and the ground realities. This cult of personality has stifled dissent and critical feedback, essential components of effective governance, particularly in times of crisis. As China's economic woes deepen, four predominant theories, collectively dubbed the Four No's, have emerged to explain the leadership's apparent inaction. 1. He doesn't know. Some speculate that Xi Jinping is being shielded from the harsh realities of the economic situation by subordinates who fear reprisal for delivering bad news. This theory suggests that the flow of information within the CCP is heavily filtered, providing Xi with an overly optimistic view of the economy. 2. He doesn't care. Another theory posits that Xi is aware of the economic issues, but is more focused on consolidating his political power and advancing his ideological agenda. Economic concerns are secondary to maintaining control and ensuring the CCP's dominance. 3. He doesn't dare. This perspective suggests that Xi is aware of the problems but is hesitant to implement bold reforms that could destabilize the political and social order. The fear of triggering unrest or losing control may be preventing decisive action. Number 4. He cannot act. Finally, some believe that Xi's hands are tied by entrenched interests within the CCP and the state bureaucracy. Even if he wants to implement reforms, the resistance from powerful factions and institutional inertia may be too great to overcome. The extended attack on private tech firms has been particularly damaging. Companies like Alibaba and Tencent, once symbols of China's innovative prowess, have faced intense scrutiny and regulatory crackdowns. This has not only stifled innovation, but also eroded investor confidence, both domestically and internationally. The tech sector, a vital engine of growth, has been significantly hampered by these interventions. The pursuit of technology self-reliance, while a strategic goal, has also led to unrealistic targets and misallocation of resources. The emphasis on developing domestic alternatives to foreign technologies has often prioritized political goals over practical and economic considerations, leading to inefficiencies and setbacks. One of the most glaring failures of leadership is the handling of China's mounting debt and the real estate crisis. The country's total debt has surged to alarming levels, with corporate debt alone accounting for about 131% of GDP. While much of this debt is denominated in domestic currency and held by domestic banks, the concentration of debt in specific sectors, particularly real estate, poses significant risks. The collapse of major property developers like Evergrande and Country Garden has highlighted the vulnerabilities in the real estate sector. These companies, burdened with high debt levels and over-leveraged balance sheets, have struggled to stay afloat as property prices stagnate or fall. The real estate sector, which has been a cornerstone of China's economic growth, is now a source of instability and uncertainty. Local governments, heavily reliant on land sales for revenue, have also been affected. The slowdown in real estate activity has strained local finances, reducing their ability to fund public services and infrastructure projects. The knock-on effects of the real estate crisis are being felt across the economy, impacting household wealth, business investment, and overall economic growth. China's growing tensions with the West have further compounded its economic challenges. The trade war with the United States, ongoing geopolitical disputes, and increasing scrutiny of Chinese investments abroad have created an environment of uncertainty and mistrust. These external pressures have exacerbated the internal economic struggles, limiting China's access to foreign markets, technology, and investment. Efforts to move wealth and assets abroad reflect a lack of confidence in China's economic stability and future. Wealthy individuals and businesses are seeking safer havens for their assets, contributing to capital flight and reducing the funds available for domestic investment. China's rapid economic growth over the past few decades has been fueled, in large part, by an aggressive accumulation of debt. From corporate loans to household mortgages, debt has been the lifeblood of China's economic expansion. However, this strategy has come with significant risks, as debt levels have soared to unsustainable heights. Corporate debt, in particular, has reached alarming levels, accounting for about 131% of GDP. Major state-owned enterprises, SOEs, and private firms alike have taken on massive amounts of debt to finance their operations and expansion. While this has driven growth in the short term, it has also created a fragile financial system prone to shocks and instability. Household debt has also surged, with residential mortgages becoming increasingly accessible. Encouraged by the government to boost housing demand, this easy credit has led to a sharp rise in household debt, which now stands at more than 60% of GDP. The heavy reliance on debt has left many households financially vulnerable, with a significant portion of their wealth tied up in real estate. Real estate has been a cornerstone of China's economic strategy, serving as a key driver of growth and wealth accumulation. Local governments, eager to boost revenues, have sold vast amounts of land to developers, fueling a construction boom. Property development has become a major source of economic activity, creating jobs and stimulating demand for a wide range of goods and services. However, this rapid expansion has come at a cost. The market has become saturated with an oversupply of properties and declining demand. The once booming real estate sector is now facing a severe downturn, with property prices stagnating or falling in many areas. This has left developers struggling to repay their debts and complete ongoing projects. The collapse of major property developers such as Evergrande and Country Garden has highlighted the vulnerabilities in the sector. Burdened with high debt levels and over-leveraged balance sheets, these companies have been unable to meet their financial obligations, triggering defaults and raising concerns about the stability of the broader economy. China's role as the world's factory means that its economic health is intrinsically linked to global supply chains. The slowdown in Chinese manufacturing and exports has disrupted these supply chains, leading to shortages, increased costs, and delays for companies worldwide. As Chinese factories struggle with lower demand and operational inefficiencies, the repercussions are felt by businesses and consumers across the globe. Countries heavily dependent on Chinese goods, from electronics to machinery, face significant challenges as they scramble to find alternative suppliers. This disruption is particularly acute in industries where China holds a dominant position, such as rare earth elements and certain advanced manufacturing sectors. The instability in China's economy is driving up prices and creating uncertainty, making it difficult for businesses to plan and invest. The ongoing trade war between China and the United States has exacerbated economic tensions and added to the uncertainty. Tariffs and trade barriers have disrupted traditional trade flows, leading to increased costs for businesses and consumers in both countries. The trade war has not only hurt China's export-driven economy, but has also strained relations with one of its largest trading partners. The United States has targeted key Chinese industries, including technology and manufacturing, in an attempt to curb China's economic rise and address concerns about unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. In response, China has implemented retaliatory measures, further escalating the conflict. This tit-for-tat approach has created a volatile trade environment, impacting global markets and investor confidence. Beyond the trade war, broader geopolitical tensions have also taken a toll on China's economy. Issues such as China's territorial claims in the South China Sea, human rights abuses in Xinjiang, and the political situation in Hong Kong have led to increasing scrutiny and sanctions from Western countries. These actions have isolated China economically and diplomatically, limiting its ability to engage in international trade and investment. Sanctions and export controls imposed by the United States and its allies have targeted Chinese technology firms, limiting their access to critical components and markets. Companies like Huawei and ZTE have been hit hard, facing significant restrictions on their operations and expansion plans. These measures have disrupted China's technology ambitions and hindered its progress in developing high-tech industries. One of the most immediate and visible impacts of the economic downturn is the rise in unemployment and underemployment. As companies face financial difficulties, they are forced to cut costs, which often means laying off workers or reducing working hours. The collapse of major industries, particularly in manufacturing and real estate, has left many without jobs or struggling to make ends meet. Unemployment is particularly severe among young people and recent graduates who find themselves entering a job market with few opportunities. The promise of a stable career and upward mobility that once defined the Chinese dream is now out of reach for many, leading to widespread frustration and disillusionment. The economic crisis has also taken a severe psychological toll on the Chinese population. The uncertainty and financial stress have led to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. The pressure to maintain social status and provide for one's family in a faltering economy has exacerbated these problems. For many Chinese citizens, the crisis has shattered the sense of security and progress that has defined the past few decades. The fear of losing one's job, home, and future prospects creates a pervasive sense of insecurity and hopelessness. This psychological burden adds to the overall social strain and complicates efforts to navigate the crisis. The Chinese government has increasingly relied on technology and surveillance to maintain control and monitor public sentiment. Advanced surveillance systems and social credit scores are used to track and influence behavior, creating a climate of fear and repression. While these measures may help to prevent large-scale protests and dissent, they also contribute to a sense of alienation and mistrust among the population. The use of technology as a tool for social control highlights the tension between maintaining order and addressing the underlying issues driving public discontent. The government's focus on surveillance over substantive reforms risks further alienating the public and exacerbating social tensions. As the world anticipates China's next moves. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share,